The woman sleeping on the bench outside Meridian Tower on a Tuesday night in November was not what Daniel Hurst expected to see when he stepped out for air at 11:45. He had been in the building since 7 that morning. 12 meetings, 2 conference calls, 1 near collapse of a deal he had spent 4 months building, and a dinner that was really an ambush dressed in good wine and worse intentions. He was tired in the particular way that lives behind the eyes and has nothing to do with sleep. He pushed through the lobby doors, and there she was. She was sitting upright, which was the first thing he noticed. Not slumped, not curled, not surrendered to the bench the way exhaustion usually takes a person. She was sitting with her spine straight and her hands folded in her lap over a worn leather bag, and she was staring at the building across the street with the concentrated focus of someone doing math in their head. Her coat had a broken zipper held together with a safety pin. Her shoes were good, or had been good once, the kind of quality that outlasts everything except time and hard use. Her face was composed in a way that costs something to maintain. Daniel stood on the steps and looked at her for a moment longer than was polite. She did not look at him. "The building closes at midnight," he said. "Security will move you on in about 10 minutes. She turned then. Her eyes were dark and direct and entirely unimpressed. "I'm not on their property," she said. "I'm on the public pavement. There's a difference. You know your property law. I know a lot of things." She turned back to the building across the street. He should have gone back inside. He had a report to finish, and a 7 a.m. flight, and 3 weeks of accumulated decisions sitting on his desk that needed signing. He sat down on the steps instead, not beside her, a reasonable distance. She glanced at him sideways. "I'm not a project," she said. "I didn't say you were." You sat down. "It's a free pavement. You said so yourself." A silence. Then, from somewhere she clearly did not intend it to come from, a short sound that was almost a laugh. "Almost. What do you want?" "Nothing. I've been inside that building for 16 hours. I needed to sit somewhere that wasn't a boardroom." He looked at the building she kept watching. "What's over there?" She was quiet for a moment. Then, "That used to be my showroom." He looked at it more carefully. Ground floor, large windows, dark inside. A fashion brand logo still on the glass, partially covered by a notice. "Used to be." "Injunction," she said. Simply. The way you say a word when you have already spent all your emotion on the thing the word describes and have nothing left for the telling of it. 36 hours ago I had a company, a team of 14 people, and a showroom I built from nothing over 10 years. Then someone with more lawyers than principals decided they wanted what I built and found a way to freeze everything I own while the case works through the courts. She paused. My accounts. My apartment. The lease was through the company account. My cards. She looked down at the bag in her lap. This is everything I have that isn't tied up in a courtroom right now. Daniel was quiet. Not the quiet of someone who did not know what to say. The quiet of someone choosing carefully. What's the company? She looked at him directly. Why? Because you said you built it from nothing and you're sitting outside it at midnight and you still have that look on your face. What look? Like you're already planning the next move. Something shifted in her expression. Fractional. Like a door that opened 1 inch and then held. Vela, she said. Sustainable fashion. We had stockists in 11 countries. Past tense as of 36 hours ago. He knew Vela. He knew exactly what Vela was. He kept his face completely neutral. Where are you sleeping tonight? I'll figure it out. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. She stood, picked up her bag, and looked down at him with an expression that was equal parts pride and exhaustion. I don't need saving. I need my company back. Those are different problems. I know, he said. But it's November and it's 4 degrees, and the shelter on 9th Avenue has a waiting list that runs to Thursday. I looked it up once for a report I was writing. He stood. He was a full head taller than her. There's a hotel 2 blocks from here. Nothing impressive. Clean. Safe. 200 a night. I'll pay for 3 nights. No conditions. No conversation required. Just a warm room while you figure out your next move. She stared at him for a long moment. You don't know me. No. I could be anyone. You could be. But you're someone who knows property law off the top of her head, built a company that's stocked in 11 countries, and is sitting outside it at midnight with her spine straight. I'll take the risk. He reached into his jacket for his wallet. She put her hand out, not to take the money, to stop him. "I'll take the hotel," she said quietly. "I'll pay you back. I need your name and a way to reach you." "Daniel," he said. "Simone," she said. She paid him back in 11 days. A bank transfer, exact to the cent, with a message that said thank you and nothing else. He had not expected to hear from her. He had thought about her more than was reasonable for 11 days and told himself it was because the situation had been unusual and not because of the way she had looked at him like he was a variable she had not yet solved for. When the transfer came through, he stared at it for a long time. Then he replied, just one line, "I'd like to have coffee if you're willing." She made him wait 4 days for a response. Then, 1 hour, Thursday, the place on Mercer Street I'm buying. He was there 15 minutes early. She was already there when he arrived, which told him something. She was wearing different clothes, clean, simple, still careful in the way of someone who knew what things were worth and chose with intention. The broken zipper coat was gone. She looked rested in the way of someone who had slept but had not stopped working in their sleep. "You look better," he said, sitting down. "I had a bed," she said. "It makes a difference." She looked at him evenly. "You work for Meridian Group." He went still. "I looked you up," she said, "after I transferred the money. I needed to know who I owed." She wrapped both hands around her coffee cup. "Meridian is the company trying to take Vela from me." The silence between them was the kind that determines everything that comes after it. Daniel did not look away. That was the first thing she noticed. Most people, caught in something, look somewhere else while they construct the answer. He looked directly at her and took a breath and said, "Yes. Did you know who I was that night?" Another pause. Honest this time, not calculating. "I knew the name Vela. I didn't connect it to you until you said it. And after you said it, I still paid for the hotel." She looked at him for a long time. Simone Adeyemi had built an $8 million company on her ability to read rooms, read people, read the difference between what someone said and what they meant underneath it. She read him now the way she read everything, completely, without the interference of what she wanted to find. "You didn't tell anyone at Meridian you'd met me," she said. It was not a question. "No." "Why not?" "Because it wasn't their business." He set his cup down. "I need you to understand something. I work acquisitions. I build deals. I have never once been involved in anything that looked like what they did to you. The injunction, the frozen accounts, that decision came from above my level, and I found out about it the same week you did." He paused. "I want to be clear that I'm not asking you to trust Meridian. I'm asking you to separate me from them long enough to have one honest conversation." "This is the honest conversation," she said. "You're already in it." Something released in his expression. "Just slightly. Then I'll tell you something honest. I've thought about you every day for 11 days, and I told myself it was because the situation was unusual. It wasn't the situation." Simone was quiet. Outside the coffee shop, the city moved in its usual relentless way, taxis and pedestrians, and the sound of someone's music leaking from a passing car. She looked at the table, then back at him. "I have nothing right now, Daniel. Not in the way people say it when they mean they're between things. I mean I have a leather bag, a legal case I am going to win, and 14 people whose livelihoods depend on me winning it. I am not in a position to be anyone's anything. I'm not asking you to be." He leaned forward slightly. "I'm asking for coffee on Thursday, which is today, which is already happening." A pause. "Let me help with the case." Her eyes sharpened. "Excuse me. I have 3 years of acquisition documentation at Meridian. I know exactly which decisions go through which channels and which signatures authorize which moves. If what they did to you is outside legal parameters, and from what you described, I know where the paper trail is." The silence this time was different, not defensive, thinking. "You would do that. I'm telling you I will. That would end your career at Meridian." "Yes." She studied him. "Why?" He looked back at her without performance. "Because what they did was wrong. And because you're sitting across from me, and I'd like to keep doing that." He picked up his coffee. Not necessarily in that order. That was the Thursday. By the following Tuesday, he had sent her the first set of documents through a secure channel. By the end of the month, her legal team had enough to file a counter motion that stopped the injunction in its tracks. By February, Vela's accounts were unfrozen. The showroom was hers again, and Meridian's legal department was facing an inquiry that had the board in emergency sessions. Daniel had resigned the week he sent the first documents. He did not tell her until after. She found out from Camille, who found out from a contact at Meridian, and she called him immediately. "You resigned," she said. "I had a good run." "Daniel." "Simone." His voice was quiet and even. "I told you I would. I meant it. I'm not interested in credit for doing the thing I said I would do." She stood in her showroom, the lights back on, her team back at their stations, the spring collection half built on the racks behind her. She pressed her fingers against the bridge of her nose and breathed. "Come to the showroom tonight," she said. "I'm cooking. Camille will be here." "Come." He came. Camille looked at him the way Camille looked at everything, with complete assessment and no performance. She handed him a glass of wine and said, "She doesn't cook for people." He said, "I know." Camille said, "How do you know?" He said, "Because she told me she doesn't." Camille looked at him for another moment, then nodded once, and that was that. They were married 8 months later. Small. Intentional. 15 people in a room above a restaurant on a Friday evening. Simone in a dress from the Vela archive that she had made herself 6 years ago and never worn. Daniel in a dark suit with no tie. Camille cried and denied it. The officiant mispronounced Adeyemi twice, and Simone corrected him both times without embarrassment. When Daniel said "I do," he was looking at her the way a person looks at the one true correct decision they have made in a life full of calculated ones. He had known, going in, that she was the founder of Vela. He had known she was rebuilding it. What he had not known, what she had not told him in the months of coffee and late evenings and slow, careful honesty they had built together, was the full number. The valuation Vela had returned to once the injunction lifted and the spring collection landed and the stockists came back and brought 3 new international accounts with them. She had not hidden it. She had simply not offered it because it was not, she had decided, the first thing she wanted him to know about her. He found out on the morning after their wedding. Her phone was on the nightstand. A notification from her financial dashboard. He was not snooping. He was reaching past it for his water glass, and the number was simply there on the screen. 11.2 million. Company valuation. Vela by Simone Adeyemi. He lay there in the early morning light and looked at the ceiling for a long moment. Then he turned his head and looked at her. She was asleep. Her hair was loose across the pillow. She looked exactly like herself. He got up quietly, made 2 cups of coffee, and brought them back to bed. When she woke, he handed her a cup. She sat up, looked at him, and read his face the way she always read everything. "You saw the notification," she said. "Yes." She waited. "You were a CEO when I met you," he said slowly. "You were sitting on a bench outside your frozen showroom at midnight with $40 and a broken zip code, and you were already planning how to get it back." He looked at her. "I didn't marry your company, Simone. I married the woman on that bench." A pause. "Though I'll be honest, 11 million is a number." She looked at him for a long, full moment. Then she laughed. A real one. The kind that came all the way up from somewhere unguarded and filled the room with something warm and irreversible. "You're going to be insufferable about this," she said. "Probably," he said. "But I'm your problem now. Legally documented." She shook her head, still smiling, and picked up her coffee. Outside the window, the city was doing its usual thing. Loud, relentless, full of people building things and losing things and finding things in the rain. Simone Adeyemi had lost everything and come back. She had sat on a bench with her spine straight and her next move already forming. She had let one person in, slowly on her own terms, and it had not cost her what the last time had cost her. It had given her something she had not known she was still making room for. If this story hit something in you, drop a comment below and tell me, did Simone make the right call trusting him, or was she too fast? I want to hear your take. Hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss the next story, and I will see you in the next video.